Hello, everyone. I'll be talking about something that's often overlooked in psychology and psychiatry, and that is the overuse of SSRIs and the damage that happens when we treat the brain without considering the rest of the body. Psychiatrists and prescribers often increase SSRI doses when patients don't improve, but without ruling out inflammation or gut imbalances as root causes of depression, this approach can do more harm than good, sometimes even leading to serotonin toxicity, also known as serotonin syndrome. Imagine feeling numb, foggy, and detached. And when you tell your doctor your antidepressant isn't helping, they say, let's double the dose. But for some people, that dosage change doesn't just make things worse mentally, it can make them physically sick or even land them in the hospital. As someone studying psychology and a person who has firsthand experience with mental health struggles, I've noticed how mental health care often focuses on symptoms instead of causes. The relationship between our brain and our gut is one of the most overlooked factors in that equation. I've spent time researching peer-reviewed work on the gut-brain axis, especially the article where Dr. David Scheiderer explains how chronic inflammation and gut dysbiosis can drive depression and anxiety more than neurotransmitter imbalances alone. Psychiatry's habit of overprescribing SSRIs without exploring biological roots like gut inflammation is a serious problem, one that can lead to serotonin syndrome and worsen mental health long term. SSRIs increase serotonin levels in the brain by blocking reuptake, the brain's recycling process for serotonin. This can help some people, but the assumption that all depression stems from low serotonin is outdated. Many psychiatrists prescribe SSRIs at the first mention of mood swings or sadness, before testing for underlying issues like inflammation, diet, or stress hormone imbalance. Studies show that about 60% of patients don't respond to their first antidepressant trial. Instead of reevaluating, many are just switched or increased in dose. Here's where I'm asking why. When serotonin activity becomes excessive, serotonin syndrome develops, a condition caused by overstimulation of serotonin receptors. It can happen from taking high doses, and what counts as too high varies from person to person. Or combining serotonergic drugs such as SSRIs with migraine medications, cough syrups, or herbal supplements. Symptoms range from mild like tremors, agitation, or sweating to life-threatening such as high fever, seizures, or irregular heartbeat. Many cases start exactly like this. A patient says, I still feel depressed, and the provider raises the dose instead of investigating why the drug isn't working. In sensitive individuals, especially those with slower liver metabolism or inflammatory conditions, serotonin can build up quickly. This shows how the gut-brain axis imbalance can overlap with the culture of SSRI overprescription in the mental health field, making everything much worse in the long run. A recent study found that about 45% of patients prescribed an SSRI failed to respond within a year, and in a subgroup that had genetic mismatch, the failure rate jumped to 78%. If nearly half of patients don't respond, and some respond even worse when the drug isn't well matched, why is the first step still in SSRI instead of investigating root causes first? Surely most psychiatrists are aware of this issue already, so what are they doing to change how they treat their patients, especially since SSRI prescriptions have only increased after COVID? My concern is whether this pattern reflects a general fatigue overtaking healthcare systems due to recent heavy stress and world events. That could explain, though not excuse, negligence and lack of sufficient attention and relevant care to patients. If that is the case, I believe it is the duty of anyone studying psychology who will one day earn a career helping people with their mental health and also current psychology professionals to adapt to these new pressures and findings in a way that will improve the mental health care system within our lifetime. Dr. David Scheiderer, in a 2022 peer-reviewed article, describes what he calls a unifying theory of mental illness: chronic low-grade inflammation starting in the gut and spreading to the brain. About 90% of serotonin is actually produced in the digestive tract. When gut microbes are imbalanced or the intestinal barrier becomes leaky, inflammatory molecules travel to the brain and disrupt neurotransmitter systems. Chronic stress, processed diets, and sleep deprivation all worsen this gut-brain loop. The result is mood swings, anxiety, and depression that medication alone can't fix, because the problem isn't simply in the brain's chemistry. Treating the gut through nutrition, probiotics, or anti-inflammatory approaches often improves mental health without medication increases. Instead of asking what pill can change the brain to begin with, maybe we should ask what's happening in the body that made the brain feel this way in the first place. SSRIs can be life-changing for some, but the current pattern of overprescribing and dose escalation ignores the biological complexity of mental illness, and it's leaving patients sicker. Today, I've shown you how antidepressants work, how overprescription can lead to serotonin syndrome, and why the gut-brain connection might hold the real answers to better diagnosis outcomes and treatment efficacy.